Toughen your mind, or the world will break it, and it won't wait for your permission. This is not just a title, it's a warning and a challenge. Because the truth is, life doesn't slow down just because you're tired. It doesn't stop being hard because you're stressed. If your mind isn't strong, the pressure will break you. Not in one big moment, but in small, daily defeats, giving up, hesitating, avoiding, overthinking. You don't need more motivation, you need mental toughness, the kind that's trained, not wished for. This audiobook isn't here to hype you up, it's here to wake you up. You'll learn how to build daily habits that make your thinking stronger, your focus sharper, and your discipline unshakable. Step by step. No fluff, just real, clear, and powerful strategies that shift your mindset for life. If you're tired of feeling stuck and ready to take control, this is your moment. Listen closely. Everything changes now. Chapter 1. Harden your thinking before life tests it. People do not fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they do not prepare their thinking for what life is going to demand. Life is not gentle, and it never promises to be fair. It applies pressure without asking for permission. It does not check your mood before it tests you. If your thinking is soft, the pressure feels unbearable. If your thinking is strong, the same pressure becomes manageable. That is why the real work always begins in the mind, long before anything shows up in the outside world. Most people wait until life hurts before they start thinking seriously. They wait until the bills pile up, until relationships strain, until confidence feels shaky. That is backward. Strong thinking must come first. You decide how you will think before the problem arrives. You choose your standards before you are tired. You choose your values before you are tempted. When the test comes, your thinking is already set, and you do not have to negotiate with yourself in a weak moment. The mind can be trained, or it can be neglected. If it is neglected, it becomes reactive, emotional, and easily overwhelmed. If it is trained, it becomes calm, clear, and steady. A trained mind does not panic when things go wrong. It pauses. It asks better questions. It looks for solutions instead of excuses. That kind of thinking does not appear by accident. It is built through daily choices. Most people underestimate how much control they actually have over their thinking. Thoughts are not random accidents, they are habits. Whatever you allow repeatedly becomes normal. If you allow negative self-talk, it becomes familiar. If you allow excuses, they become comfortable. If you allow fear to decide your actions, it becomes your guide. Hardened thinking means refusing to let weak thoughts stay unchallenged. There will be days when quitting feels reasonable. There will be moments when blame sounds convincing. There will be times when comfort feels more appealing than effort. Hardened thinking does not mean you do not feel these things. It means you do not obey them. Feelings can show up, but they do not get the final word. Decisions do. Life tests people in simple ways before it tests them in big ways. It tests patience in traffic. It tests discipline in the morning alarm. It tests honesty when no one is watching. It tests focus when distractions are everywhere. If thinking collapses under small pressure, it will collapse under big pressure. That is why daily mental training matters. One of the most important shifts a person can make is moving from asking why this is happening to asking what must be done next. Complaining weakens thinking. Responsibility strengthens it. The moment responsibility is accepted, the mind sharpens. It stops looking for rescue and starts looking for action. That shift alone changes everything. Hardened thinking is built by doing what needs to be done, even when emotions argue against it. Emotions are not enemies, but they are poor leaders. They react to comfort and pain. Thinking must be steady regardless of comfort or pain. When thinking is steady, actions become consistent. When actions are consistent, results begin to change. Many people spend years hoping life will become easier. Life rarely does. What changes is the person. When thinking grows stronger, challenges feel smaller, not because they shrink, but because the mind expands. Confidence grows not from positive words, but from kept commitments. Every time a promise to yourself is kept, your thinking becomes firmer. The world will test your patience through delay. It will test your discipline through ease. It will test your character through shortcuts. Hardened thinking recognizes these tests for what they are. It sees beyond the moment. It chooses long-term stability over short-term relief. That choice, repeated daily, builds a solid inner foundation. There is a quiet confidence that comes from mental strength. It does not need to announce itself. It shows up in posture, in tone, in follow-through. People sense it. They trust it. That confidence is not arrogance. It is certainty built on preparation. It comes from knowing you can handle discomfort without falling apart. A hardened mind does not mean a closed mind. It means a clear one, open to learning but firm in standards, flexible in strategy but solid in purpose, willing to adjust without losing direction. That balance is rare but powerful. It allows growth without chaos. Every day presents small chances to toughen your thinking, getting up when you want to stay down, speaking honestly when silence feels safer, staying focused when distraction calls. Each moment is a vote for the kind of thinker you are becoming. Ignore those moments and the mind stays weak. Use them and the mind becomes reliable. Many people spend their lives reacting to life instead of directing it. Reaction is automatic. Direction is intentional. Hardened thinking is intentional thinking. It asks where this path leads. It asks whether this choice strengthens or weakens the future. It refuses to drift. The greatest danger is not failure. The greatest danger is becoming mentally soft, while believing strength will show up when needed. Strength does not appear on demand. It is built in advance. When pressure arrives, there is no time to negotiate discipline or courage. The decision must already exist. Hardened thinking also requires honesty, honest assessment of effort, honest review of habits, honest recognition of weaknesses without self-hatred. Denial weakens the mind. Truth strengthens it even when uncomfortable. Growth begins the moment excuses end. The mind grows stronger when it is fed with purpose instead of noise. Constant input of negativity, distraction, and comparison dulls thinking. Quiet reflection sharpens it. Reading, learning, writing, thinking, all train the mind to focus and process. A focused mind is harder to break. Life does not break people randomly. It breaks them at the points where thinking is undeveloped. When pressure hits those weak spots, collapse occurs. Strengthen the thinking, and pressure loses its power. Problems still exist, but they no longer control behavior. There will be moments when motivation is low. That is normal. Hardened thinking does not rely on motivation. It relies on structure and commitment. When motivation fades, structure carries you through. That is why routines matter. They protect thinking when emotions fluctuate. Self-respect grows from self-discipline. When you trust your own decisions, the mind becomes calm. Anxiety often comes from knowing you are avoiding what needs to be done. Do the work and anxiety decreases. Avoid the work and anxiety grows. The world will challenge your values. It will offer easier paths and lower standards. Hardened thinking decides in advance what is acceptable. When values are clear, decisions are faster, and regret is reduced. Confusion disappears. Mental toughness is not loud. It is quiet persistence. It is showing up again after disappointment. It is staying consistent without applause. It is choosing effort when no one is watching. Those choices shape identity. A strong mind does not blame circumstances. It studies them. It does not complain about difficulty. It prepares for it. It does not wait for confidence. It earns it through action. When thinking is hardened, life becomes more manageable, not because it is kinder, but because you are ready. Pressure still comes, but it no longer feels personal. It becomes information. It shows where to grow next. The greatest gift you can give yourself is a mind you can rely on. A mind that does not collapse under stress. A mind that does not lie to you when things get hard. A mind that chooses growth even when comfort calls. This work is not dramatic. It is quiet, daily, deliberate. It is done in small moments that seem unimportant at the time. Over time, those moments build a thinker who cannot be easily shaken. If you do not harden your thinking, the world will do it for you, and it will not be gentle. Prepare yourself instead. Train your mind before life tests it. Build strength before pressure arrives. That choice changes everything. Chapter 2. Condition your reactions so stress loses power. Most people are not broken by what happens to them. They are broken by how they react to what happens. Stress doesn't start in the outside world. It starts with how we interpret it. It's not the pressure, the deadline, the challenge, or the mistake that hurts the most. It's the way our mind processes those things that either strengthens us or wears us down. When your reactions are untrained, life feels heavier than it is. But when you take control of how you respond, you take back the power stress tries to steal. We are raised reacting to everything: people's words, bad news, uncertainty, small failures. One comment can ruin your day. One setback can stop your progress. That's the problem. We're trained by default to let life push us around. But conditioning your reactions means something else. It means refusing to give every situation the power to control your state of mind. It means choosing your response instead of living in emotional autopilot. It means no longer handing your peace to things you cannot control. Stress is part of life, but suffering from it constantly is not a requirement. If you always react the same way with frustration, overthinking, or panic, it's because that reaction has become your habit. And habits can be changed. Conditioning your reactions is not about pretending you don't care. It's about building space between what happens and what you choose to do next. That space, even if it's only a few seconds, is where all your power is. That's where you decide who's in control, you or the stress. Start small. You don't train your reactions in crisis. You train them in daily moments. When you're cut off in traffic, when someone speaks over you, when your plans fall apart. Those moments are your mental gym. And in that gym, You can either reinforce old reactions that hurt you, or you can build new ones that protect your mind. If every little thing triggers a big reaction, your peace becomes fragile. But when you condition your reactions to stay grounded, the world loses its grip on your emotions. You don't need to respond to everything immediately. You don't need to defend yourself every time someone disagrees. You don't need to get angry just because something didn't go your way. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose your response, you take back control. People who stay calm are not lucky, they're trained. They've practiced not giving every situation access to their mood. They've built discipline where others stay reactive. That kind of strength is not given, it's earned. Emotional control is not the same as emotional suppression. You're not avoiding your feelings. You're learning not to be ruled by them. Your feelings are signals, not instructions. They tell you something happened. They don't get to decide what you do next. When you start separating what you feel from what you choose, you become powerful. Because now you're not reacting from fear or anger, you're responding from awareness. That shift changes everything. Think about how much energy you've lost reacting to things that didn't deserve your attention. Think about how many days you've spent carrying frustration from moments that didn't even matter a week later. That's the cost of untrained reactions. They rob you of focus. They steal your time. They damage your health. Conditioning your reactions doesn't just make you mentally stronger, it gives you your life back. Every day brings triggers, a message you didn't expect, a conversation that hits a nerve, a problem that wasn't your fault. If you're not prepared, these moments control you. But if you've trained your mind to respond with clarity, they lose their weight. You handle what needs to be handled without breaking down. And that's real toughness, not pretending things don't bother you, but choosing not to give them more power than they deserve. Conditioning your reactions takes repetition. It takes catching yourself mid-reaction and saying, "This doesn't deserve my peace." It takes learning how to breathe instead of snap, how to listen instead of defend, how to walk away instead of argue. These are not weaknesses. These are strengths most people never develop, because most people think reacting fast means they're in control. But in reality, reacting without thought is giving away control. You don't train your body once and expect results forever. The same is true for your mind. You have to work on your reactions regularly. Review your day. Ask yourself, where did I overreact? What moment took more energy than it deserved? What could I have handled better? This is how you grow, not by being perfect, but by being more aware every time. Self-control is built like muscle through intentional effort and practice. Not everyone deserves a response. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Not every thought deserves your attention. When your reactions are sharp and steady, you save energy for what truly matters. You show up better in relationships. You think clearer under pressure. You stay productive even when life feels chaotic. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you decide to stop letting the world write your emotional script. It's not easy at first. You'll slip. You'll feel the pull to go back to old reactions. But stay with it. Each time you catch yourself and choose better, your mind gets stronger. Each time you respond calmly to something that used to shake you, you grow. And eventually, people will notice. They'll ask why you don't get rattled like you used to, why you're more patient, why you're focused. And the answer will be simple. You trained for it. Real progress starts when you stop blaming stress and start training your mind to meet it differently. Stress isn't the enemy, it's the signal. It shows where your reactions need strengthening. Don't fear it, use it. Use pressure as the place you practice holding yourself together. Use problems as the training ground for staying steady. Because if you only feel strong when life is easy, that's not real strength. Real strength is being steady when life is anything but. It's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes. It's okay to get emotional. You're human. This isn't about being numb. It's about not staying stuck in reactions that hurt you. The key is moving from emotion to action, from reaction to reason, from chaos to clarity. That's what conditioned reactions give you, the ability to lead yourself when everything else feels out of control. Start today. Pick one moment. When something annoys you or surprises you or frustrates you, pause. Don't respond right away. Ask yourself, is this reaction helping me? If not, shift. Even a small change matters, because that one moment leads to the next. And over time, you build a new identity, someone who stays in control no matter what shows up. You deserve peace. You deserve power. But no one can give that to you. You build it by taking control of your reactions, one day at a time. When you do that, stress no longer runs your life. You do. Chapter 3. Strengthen self-control when emotions surge. Self-control is not something you're born with or something you just have. It's a mental skill that's developed through effort, reflection, and personal responsibility. It becomes most valuable in the exact moments when emotions try to take over. When you feel angry, anxious, jealous, overwhelmed, or frustrated, that's when your choices matter most. It's easy to stay in control when everything is going your way, but your real strength shows up when it doesn't. We all face moments when emotions hit hard. It might be an argument, a disappointment, a loss, a setback. Someone says something that cuts deep. A situation feels unfair. These are the moments that test you. You can let emotions lead and react without thinking, or you can take a second, breathe, and choose how you want to respond. That second, that pause, is where power lives. That's what separates people who spiral from those who stay steady. The truth is, strong emotions aren't the problem. What you do with them is. You're allowed to feel, you're allowed to be upset, but those feelings don't give you permission to throw away your discipline. Self-control means staying aligned with who you want to be, even when your emotions beg you to act differently. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's the hardest option in the room. Most people don't prepare for these emotional storms. They let their reactions decide their behavior. They say things they regret. They make fast choices that damage relationships, progress, or peace of mind. Afterward, they feel drained, guilty, or ashamed. That's the cost of being controlled by emotions instead of controlling your actions. The good news is, this doesn't have to be permanent. You can train your mind to respond better. Self-control doesn't mean pushing emotions down. It means not letting emotions choose your behavior. You can feel the fire without letting it burn your progress. You can be angry without attacking. You can be stressed without quitting. You can be hurt without shutting down. This level of control comes from practice, not perfection. Start by knowing your triggers. Know the moments when you lose your cool. Know the thoughts that make your heart race. Know the situations that leave you spinning. You can't manage what you don't understand. If you always react the same way to the same triggers, you're not growing. Write it down. Study yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. That's how you take back your authority over your emotional life. Next, practice the pause. 1 second can change everything. 1 breath can stop you from saying something that ruins trust. 1 quiet moment can keep you from making a decision based on fear. When the emotion rises, don't try to solve it instantly. Just give yourself space. The mind clears when you let the initial surge pass, and from that clarity, you can act, not just react. You don't have to explain yourself while you're still processing. You don't have to respond just because someone else is pressuring you. Take a moment, gather yourself, think about the long-term consequence of what you're about to say or do. Real power is choosing to respond in a way that serves your growth, not just your momentary emotion. There's nothing weak about being calm under pressure. That's strength. It takes discipline to stay grounded when everything inside you is screaming to explode. That discipline builds identity. It teaches your mind that you're in charge, not your emotions, and the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. What feels impossible at first eventually becomes your new baseline. Some days will test you more than others. You might wake up tired. Someone might test your patience early in the day. Life might throw 5 things at you at once. That's when self-control becomes a lifeline. Instead of reacting to every problem with panic, you respond with presence. Instead of arguing to win, you listen to understand. Instead of shutting down, you stay engaged. You're not perfect. You're prepared. One powerful way to build self-control is through physical discipline. When you train your body through exercise, cold showers, disciplined routines, you train your mind. You teach yourself that discomfort is not dangerous, that you can feel tired and still show up, that you can push through resistance and keep going. These habits translate directly into emotional control, because once you've taught your mind to lead the body, it becomes easier to lead your emotions. Another tool is journaling. When you write, you slow down your thoughts. You name your feelings instead of being owned by them. You understand your behavior better. You start to see patterns. You begin noticing the gap between your values and your reactions. And in that gap, you create a new path, a better path, one where your highest self leads, not your impulses. You also need to check your environment. If you surround yourself with people who feed your worst reactions, who normalize losing control, gossiping, blaming, exploding, you'll stay stuck. But if you spend time around people who model emotional discipline, you'll level up. You'll absorb their steadiness. You'll see what it looks like to lead with maturity, and that influence will reshape how you show up in your own life. Your words matter, your tone matters, your decisions matter. In moments of emotional surge, they matter even more. People remember how you made them feel. They remember how you handled conflict. They remember whether you stayed respectful, even when upset. Every time you choose control over chaos, you build trust with others and with yourself. You will never be perfect at this. That's okay. The goal is not to never feel overwhelmed. The goal is to reduce how often it happens, how long it lasts, and how much damage it causes. Progress is the goal, not perfection. Celebrate the times you held back when you used to lash out. Celebrate the moments you breathed through instead of broke down. That's growth. You are stronger than your impulses. You are more capable than your emotions suggest. You are not the angry voice in your head. You are the one who notices that voice and chooses something better. That's power. That's leadership. That's maturity. And when you develop this kind of self-control, it spills into everything. You make better financial choices. You communicate clearer in relationships. You stay focused at work. You sleep better at night. Because when your emotions no longer control your actions, you get your life back. This isn't a quick fix. It's a lifetime practice. But the reward is worth it. Peace, confidence, clarity, respect. These are earned through self-control, through staying calm when it's easier to explode, through staying kind when it's easier to be cruel, through staying steady when the world feels unstable. You're not here to be ruled by temporary feelings. You're here to build a life based on strong choices. Feel what you feel, but decide what you do. That is how you win. That is how you lead. That is how you grow. Strengthen your self-control when emotions surge, and you will stop breaking under pressure. You will rise above it. You will move forward with power, not panic. That's how you become unshakable, and that's the path to real freedom. Chapter 4. Decide your standards and live by them. Most people go through life without ever deciding what they truly stand for. They react to situations, they adjust to crowds, and they shift based on the environment around them. But they never stop and define their personal standards. That's why they feel lost. That's why they struggle with confidence. That's why they end up living lives that don't feel right. If you want to become mentally strong and grounded in who you are, you need to decide your standards and live by them every single day, especially when it's hard. Your standards are not just preferences, they are your personal rules. They are the line you draw in the sand that says, this is who I am, this is what I accept, and this is what I reject. Without that, you will bend every time life applies pressure. People without standards will follow the crowd, get pulled into drama, break their word, and live on autopilot. People with strong standards act with clarity, not confusion. They're not perfect, but they're consistent. You can trust them to stay true to who they are, even when it's not convenient. It's easy to go with the flow when nothing is challenging your values, but your standards don't matter when everything feels easy. They matter most when they cost you something. When sticking to your rules means losing comfort, approval, or instant reward, that's when your integrity is tested, and that's when you either rise or fall. People say they want to feel more confident. Here's the truth. Confidence is not built by talking about it. It's built by honoring the standards you've set, even when no one's watching. Decide what kind of person you want to be, not what you hope to achieve, not what image you want to project, but the kind of person you actually want to be on the inside. Do you want to be someone who keeps their word? Then never break a promise to yourself, even the small ones. Do you want to be someone who leads with honesty? Then tell the truth, when lying would be easier. Do you want to be someone with strong work ethic? Then show up and do the work when you don't feel like it. These aren't motivational ideas, they're habits that build identity. When you don't have clear standards, you allow everything to influence you. You let other people's expectations decide your behavior. You let the mood of the day dictate your actions. You say yes to things that don't align with your values. Over time, you become disconnected from yourself. You start drifting. But when you know your standards, you have a compass. You don't get swayed by every emotion or situation. You check in with yourself and ask, does this match the kind of person I choose to be? This isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. Your standards can evolve, but they must come from within, not from pressure, popularity, or fear. When you're clear on what you accept and what you don't, you walk through the world differently. You stop chasing approval. You stop compromising your self-respect to fit in. You begin living with direction. You have to decide what you expect from yourself in moments of stress. What do you expect from yourself when you're tired? When you're tempted to cut corners? When no one will find out? The standards you live by in those moments shape your future. That's where character is built. Not when you feel good, but when you're tested. If your standard is discipline, you don't just act disciplined when things are going well. You stick to it when you're exhausted and frustrated. That's where real growth begins. People with strong standards don't blame others when things go wrong. They don't make excuses. They don't lower the bar when it's hard. They face it. They face their choices. They take responsibility. That responsibility builds power, because once you stop shifting blame, you can start building solutions. That's how you take control of your life. Decide how you want to treat people. Decide how much negativity you're willing to tolerate. Decide how much time you'll waste on things that don't matter. Decide how much effort you'll give, even when the outcome is uncertain. These decisions must be made in advance, not in the heat of the moment. Because when emotions rise and pressure builds, you fall back on your standards. If you haven't built them, you'll fall into whatever the environment demands. Living by your standards also means raising the bar. Most people live by minimums. The least amount of effort. The easiest path. The lowest level of honesty that won't get them caught. But minimums never lead to fulfillment. Raise your minimums. Set your standards so high that even your worst days reflect strength. That doesn't mean perfection. It means excellence through effort. One of the greatest forms of self-respect is refusing to accept anything beneath your standards, whether it's from others or from yourself. You don't allow people to treat you poorly. You don't allow yourself to treat others poorly. You don't allow laziness to replace purpose. You don't let fear replace effort. You become someone who others can rely on, not because you say the right things, but because you live them. When you start living by your standards, you might lose some people. You might feel more alone. But over time, the right people will find you. People who share your values. People who respect your boundaries. People who live with similar strength. That's the reward for holding the line. You build a life filled with people, habits and environments that match the person you've chosen to become. Don't make your standards based on what's popular. Make them based on what's true to you. That means spending time alone, thinking deeply, asking hard questions. What do you believe in when no one's telling you what to believe? What matters to you even if no one agrees? What kind of future are you trying to build? And what kind of character will that future require? These are questions worth answering. Living by your standards is not a one-time decision. It's a daily effort. You will get tested often. You will feel tempted to compromise. You will face moments where no one will know if you slip. But you will know, and the person you become is shaped by those small decisions. They are not small at all. They are everything. Discipline becomes easier when it's tied to identity. If you see yourself as someone who lives by strong standards, then following through becomes a natural extension of who you are. You don't have to argue with yourself every time. You already decided. You already became that person. Now you just follow through. You don't need to talk about your standards. You don't need to convince anyone. Just live them. Quietly. Consistently. People will notice, and more importantly, you'll notice. You'll start trusting yourself. You'll feel aligned. You'll feel grounded, even in chaos, because you've built your life on solid ground. You get to decide what you allow in your life. You get to choose your rules. Not from pride, but from purpose. Not to impress, but to protect your peace and build your future. Decide your standards and live by them with consistency, with humility, and with strength. That's how you earn respect from yourself. That's how you create real change. That's how you become the kind of person life can't break. Chapter 5. Train consistency until discipline feels normal. Discipline is not something you wake up with one morning. It is not motivation. It is not a burst of energy. It is not something that shows up only when life feels exciting or convenient. Discipline is the result of consistency, doing the right thing again and again until it becomes who you are. You do not wait for discipline to feel easy. You train it until it feels normal. Most people fail not because they're weak, but because they rely on their feelings to decide their actions. They say they'll work when they feel like it. They'll eat better when it's easier. They'll show up when they're more inspired. But here's the truth. You will never feel like it every day, and that's exactly why consistency matters. Because it teaches you to act despite your mood. It teaches you to keep going when your mind offers every excuse to quit. Consistency doesn't start with intensity. It starts with simple, repeated effort. You don't need to overhaul your life in one night. You start by showing up, one step, one choice, one honest decision at a time. You stay with it when it's boring. You stay with it when it's slow. You stay with it when no one notices, because every day you repeat a small action. You reinforce a new identity. You're no longer just trying, you're becoming. Discipline is not a trait reserved for the few. It's available to anyone who is willing to stop negotiating with excuses. If you want to write every day, even if it's one sentence. If you want to get stronger, move your body every day, even if it's 5 minutes. If you want to think clearer, reflect every day, even if it's just a few lines in a notebook. These actions build trust with yourself. That trust turns into stability. That stability turns into discipline. You don't have to force yourself to love the process. You just have to respect it enough to repeat it. People think discipline means you have to like every part of the journey. You don't. It means you value your goal more than your temporary feeling. That's why consistency is so important. Because it builds mental strength while you're doing the work. You're going to have bad days. You're going to feel tired. You'll miss a workout. You'll fall short of a goal. That doesn't erase your progress. What matters is what you do next. You don't punish yourself. You reset. You go again. Because that's what consistent people do. They keep showing up without making every slip into a story. They don't let one off day turn into a lost week. They recover faster. They think long term. You don't train consistency by doing everything perfectly. You train it by choosing not to quit when things aren't perfect. That mindset makes you powerful. You begin to realize you can control your day even when life feels messy. You start becoming someone who others can count on, not because you're flawless, but because you're steady. That's how you build confidence from the ground up. The best part, once you've repeated something long enough, it becomes part of you. What once felt difficult becomes your new normal. Discipline becomes a habit. You no longer have to convince yourself to do it. You just do it. That's the reward of consistency. It turns effort into identity. The secret is to remove the option to quit. Too many people fail because they give themselves too many ways out. They overthink, they debate, they delay. If you want to build discipline, take the decision-making out of the routine. Decide once, and then just act. Set the alarm. Get up. Do the work. Don't ask yourself if you feel like it. Ask yourself what needs to be done. This kind of mindset removes friction, and less friction means more follow-through. You don't need extreme motivation. You need a clear reason. Why does this matter to you? Why does this matter to you? Why does this habit deserve your energy? Tie your action to a reason that's personal and honest. Because when the motivation fades, and it always will, your reason keeps you moving. If you know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to stay consistent even when the process feels dry. There will be moments when you feel invisible, when no one praises your effort, when results seem slow, when your mind tells you it's not worth it. That's when you must remember, the process is building more than results. It's building you. Every time you show up, you're shaping your character. You're becoming the kind of person who doesn't need external validation to keep moving. That kind of internal strength is rare, and it's earned through repetition. You train consistency through structure. You build routines that make discipline automatic. The fewer decisions you leave up to chance, the more energy you preserve for action. Decide when you'll work. Decide what matters most. Eliminate distractions. Stop hoping your future self will be more motivated. Create systems now that make it easier to follow through. You also have to protect your environment. Surround yourself with people who are disciplined, not perfect. Disciplined. People who do what they say. People who value growth. People who remind you what you're capable of. Your environment either strengthens your habits or breaks them. Choose carefully. Don't romanticize the process. Some days will be boring. Some days you'll want to quit. Some days the effort will feel unnoticed. Keep going anyway. The point is not to feel excited every day. The point is to keep your word to yourself. That's what creates peace. That's what builds strength. That's what changes lives. You won't always see results right away. That's normal. Don't confuse slow progress with failure. Keep stacking the days. Keep doing the work. Most people quit when it gets slow. And that's exactly when they were about to make a breakthrough. Don't be one of them. Be the one who stayed steady when others got distracted. Be the one who trained discipline so well it became your natural state. This doesn't mean you become robotic. It means you become reliable. Reliable to yourself. Reliable to your vision. You stop chasing quick wins. You start building something real, something lasting. That's what consistency gives you. A foundation strong enough to carry big goals. You're not too late. You're not too far behind. Start where you are. One day, one choice, one action, and then repeat. Do it until it becomes normal. Do it until you can't imagine living any other way. That's how discipline is built. That's how confidence is created. That's how change becomes permanent. No one can do this work for you, but once you commit to it, everything changes. You no longer wait to feel ready. You become ready by doing. You no longer hope to be stronger. You become stronger through action. You no longer wish for consistency. You create it by training it until it's who you are. Discipline will not come knock on your door. You have to build it brick by brick, day by day, until it feels natural to keep going, until it feels uncomfortable to stop. That's when you'll know you've trained consistency until discipline feels normal. Chapter 6. Practice discomfort to expand mental tolerance. Growth doesn't come from ease. It comes from discomfort, the kind that challenges your patience, your mindset, and your habits. Most people avoid discomfort like it's a threat, but it's not. It's a teacher. Every time you step into something that stretches you, you build a stronger mind. And if you want to become someone who can handle pressure, change, and difficulty without falling apart, you need to practice discomfort until your tolerance grows. The modern world makes it easy to avoid discomfort. You can scroll instead of reflect. You can quit when effort gets heavy. You can distract yourself every time something feels inconvenient. But this habit of escape makes people mentally soft. It lowers your capacity for challenge. It makes you fragile in the face of resistance. That's why discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the way forward. You don't need to seek chaos or create unnecessary suffering. That's not the point. The point is to build the ability to stay present and steady when things stop being comfortable. To lean into small challenges that help you grow, to walk into the tension instead of avoiding it. This kind of practice trains your nervous system, sharpens your thinking, and builds your ability to stay calm under pressure. When you avoid discomfort, you don't stay the same. You shrink. You train your mind to escape anything unfamiliar or hard. And over time, your world becomes smaller. You fear more. You do less. You settle faster. But when you practice discomfort, you expand. You build a life that can hold more pressure, more responsibility, and more opportunity. Start small. Do things that make you uncomfortable but are safe. Speak up when it feels easier to stay silent. Say no when you're used to pleasing people. Finish the task even when your energy drops. Wake up on the first alarm. Sit with boredom instead of reaching for distraction. These actions may seem small, but they are powerful. They rewire how you deal with resistance. When you step into discomfort intentionally, you send a message to your mind. I can handle this. That message compounds. Every day you stay present with a challenge. You build mental toughness, and the stronger your tolerance gets, the less control stress has over you. You stop running. You start choosing. That shift changes how you live. Growth requires friction. No one builds physical strength without resistance. The same goes for mental strength. You grow by leaning into the thing you used to avoid. You grow by doing what's necessary, not just what's easy. And with enough repetition, the very thing that once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. Not because the challenge got easier, because you got stronger. People often ask for motivation. But motivation isn't what makes you grow. It's your ability to do the work when motivation is gone. And that ability is built through discomfort. Every time you show up tired, uncertain, or anxious, and you do it anyway, you're becoming someone with deeper resilience. You're creating a mind that doesn't crack when life gets hard. Discomfort reveals what you still need to work on. It shows you where your fears live. It shows you how you cope when control slips. It doesn't lie to you. It tells you the truth about where your limits are, and if you can sit with that truth, if you can face it without running, you'll start to push past it. Some discomfort is emotional, being vulnerable, owning your mistakes, saying what you really think. These moments build courage. Some discomfort is physical, pushing through fatigue, holding stillness when you want to move. These moments build discipline. Some discomfort is mental, sitting with uncertainty, holding back impulsive thoughts. These moments build patience. You don't need to tackle everything at once. Pick one area and practice. You don't need to win every challenge to grow. You just need to stay in the game. Most people quit too soon. They think discomfort means they're failing. It doesn't. It means you're being stretched. Stay in that stretch. Let it change you. Let it strengthen you. Your future self will thank you. Over time, what once felt intense will feel normal. That's the magic of mental adaptation. You don't need to force it. You just need to show up and practice again and again, until the reaction of "this is too much" turns into "I've handled this before." That's what mental tolerance looks like. Quiet confidence, inner stability, calm under pressure. You become dangerous in the best way when you no longer flinch in the face of discomfort, when you no longer seek comfort as your highest value, when you choose growth over ease, not because it's trendy, because it's who you are. That doesn't mean life stops being hard. It means you stop being shaken every time it is. It means you can keep moving forward even when you don't have clarity. It means you trust yourself to figure things out, not because you have all the answers, but because you've trained yourself to stay in the process. Discomfort also reveals your habits. When something unexpected happens, do you run to blame? Do you lash out? Do you shut down? These reactions are not signs of weakness. They're signals of where you need to grow. Instead of avoiding those moments, learn from them. Let discomfort show you what to improve. Let it become a mirror, not an enemy. There is freedom in discomfort. When you no longer fear it, you stop living in avoidance. You stop making decisions based on safety alone. You open doors that once seemed too intimidating. You try things that used to scare you. And most importantly, you stop betraying yourself to feel temporarily better. Everyone wants to be stronger, but strength has a cost. That cost is discomfort, and you pay it through effort, repetition, and honesty. You pay it by facing the parts of yourself that feel fragile. You pay it by letting go of habits that keep you soft. And when you do, you step into a life that's bigger than you imagined. Not because it's easier, but because you're now built for it. You don't need to love discomfort. You just need to stop running from it. You don't need to chase suffering. You just need to stop fearing challenge. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to act even while feeling fear. These choices are simple. They're not always easy, but they are clear. Mental tolerance doesn't show up in big moments. It shows up in the way you carry yourself each day, in how you respond when things don't go your way, in how you handle silence, rejection, confusion, and failure. Practice being calm when things get messy. Practice holding your ground when things don't feel fair. Practice making progress even when progress feels slow. And when it feels hard, remember, this is the work. You are not weak because it feels uncomfortable. You are strong because you are still here, still trying, still pushing. That's the part most people skip. But if you stay with it, if you let discomfort shape you instead of scare you, you will become someone that life cannot break. So take the challenge. Embrace the uncomfortable. Stretch your limits. Face what you usually avoid. That's where you grow. That's how you build a mind that can handle anything. Not overnight, but through practice, through effort, through showing up every day and choosing to get just a little bit stronger than you were yesterday. That's how you expand your mental tolerance. That's how you become unshakable. Chapter 7. Direct attention deliberately instead of drifting. Attention is your most valuable asset. Wherever it goes, your time, your thoughts, and your energy follow. But in today's world, attention isn't something people protect. It's something they give away without even realizing it. They scroll, click, jump between apps, get distracted by noise, pulled into things that don't matter, and after hours or even years of drifting, they wonder why they feel unfocused, scattered, and empty. The truth is simple. If you don't direct your attention on purpose, the world will direct it for you. Nothing destroys potential faster than a distracted mind. When your attention is constantly shifting, you lose your ability to go deep, to think clearly, and to follow through. And the scariest part is, most people don't even notice it happening. They confuse busyness with progress. They respond to every notification, react to every impulse, and jump from one thing to the next, without ever stopping to ask what actually matters. But to live a focused life, you need to stop reacting and start choosing. Deliberate attention means you decide what deserves your focus before the day begins. It means your energy goes where your values live, not where distractions lead you. That shift changes everything, because attention is not just about productivity, it's about identity. You become what you consistently focus on. If you're always tuned in to drama, noise, and other people's opinions, you'll start to reflect those things in how you think and act. But if you lock in on growth, learning, creating, and building, your life begins to move in that direction. The most powerful people in the world are not the busiest. They are the most focused. They don't let every demand steal their time. They protect their attention like it's sacred, because it is. They say no often. They build routines that support concentration. They turn off distractions. They think deeply about their goals. That's not by accident. That's discipline. And it's available to you too. Start by getting honest about where your attention goes. How much of your day is spent on things that make you stronger, smarter, calmer, or more capable? How much is wasted on things that leave you numb, frustrated, or drained? You cannot change what you don't track. Start noticing your habits. Notice what pulls you in without permission. Then take your control back. Deliberate attention also means being where you are. When you're eating, eat. When you're working, work. When you're with someone, be fully with them. One of the biggest reasons people feel overwhelmed is because their body is in one place, but their mind is in 5 others. They're thinking about the future, worrying about the past, distracted what they could be doing instead of staying grounded in the now. Real peace comes when your attention and your action line up. Focus is not natural in a world built for distraction, so you have to train it. You don't wake up with deep focus, you build it. You start small, maybe just 10 minutes of uninterrupted time, doing one task. Then you stretch it, and over time, you realize how much more powerful you become when your mind is locked in. You get more done, you feel more clear, you feel more in control. Every time you allow yourself to drift into meaningless activity, you strengthen that pattern. Every time you catch yourself drifting and bring your focus back, you strengthen self-awareness. That's why this work matters. It's not just about productivity. It's about becoming someone who leads their life instead of reacting to it. Attention shapes emotion too. Where you put your focus determines how you feel. If you always focus on what's missing, what's wrong or what's unfair, you feel resentful and anxious. But if you train yourself to focus on what you can control, on what you're building, on what's possible, you feel empowered. That's not toxic positivity, that's mental strength. It's choosing your perspective on purpose. You also need to decide what's worth being distracted for. Not every distraction is bad, but the ones that pull you away from your purpose consistently must be addressed. Are you watching hours of content because it's relaxing, or because it's helping you avoid something hard? Are you scrolling because you're curious, or because you're trying to numb yourself? These aren't questions to judge yourself, they're questions to understand yourself. If you want a focused life, create focused environments. Clean up your space, remove visual clutter. Put your phone away when you're doing deep work, set time blocks for important tasks. Create a rhythm that supports flow instead of chaos. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be intentional. It also helps to give your attention a place to land. Write your goals where you can see them. Create a daily plan the night before. Choose 3 things each day that matter most, and start with them. These simple actions anchor your attention. They give your mind direction. And when your mind has direction, it wastes less energy wandering. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. When you feel distracted, don't judge it. Just notice it, and gently bring your attention back. Over time, this becomes a habit. It becomes easier to stay present. You start recognizing when you're slipping into autopilot, and you bring yourself back. That skill alone changes your entire approach to life. The hardest part is not starting, it's returning. You will drift, you will lose focus, you will have days where nothing goes as planned. That's okay. The power is in returning, recommitting, refocusing. That's what separates the strong from the distracted. Not perfection, but persistence. Don't wait for life to slow down so you can focus. That moment may never come. Instead, slow down your mind. Take ownership of what you give your energy to. Choose what gets your attention. Direct it with clarity, and when you feel pulled in 1,000 directions, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what actually matters right now? Your attention is your vote for the kind of life you want to live. Every day you cast that vote with your choices. Are you voting for growth or escape? Are you voting for your goals or your comfort zone? Are you voting for distraction or direction? You don't need more time. You need better focus. Because when your attention is deliberate, even a short block of time becomes powerful. You get more done in an hour of focus than in a day of drifting. You move the needle, you make progress, you feel aligned. This isn't just about working harder, it's about living deeper, being present with the people you care about, being engaged with the work you believe in, being grounded in your values, your direction, your purpose. That's what deliberate attention gives you, a life with meaning instead of noise. So choose where you look, choose what you listen to, choose what you think about when your mind has space. Train your attention like a muscle. Respect it like your future depends on it, because it does. You can't lead yourself if you're always chasing what pulls you. Lead your attention, and the rest of your life follows. Chapter 8. Confront excuses immediately and replace them. Excuses are silent killers. They don't come in shouting. They creep in quietly. They sound reasonable. They sound safe. But they are the reason most people stay stuck. Every excuse delays growth. Every excuse protects comfort. Every excuse postpones the life you say you want. If you want to become mentally strong and actually create real change, you have to confront your excuses the moment they show up and replace them with action. Every single time. Excuses are not facts. They are stories we tell ourselves to justify doing less than we're capable of. They sound like "I'm too tired," "I'll start tomorrow," "it's not the right time," or "what if I fail?" These are not truth. They are fear in disguise. The problem is, if you repeat them enough, you start to believe them. And once you believe them, you act like they're true. You start building a life around limits that only exist in your mind. The longer you let an excuse live, the stronger it gets. That's why timing matters. You have to confront it the moment it appears. Not tomorrow. Not later. Not when you're in a better mood. Right now. The second you hear that voice telling you to back off, to delay, to give up, you have to respond. You don't argue with it. You don't entertain it. You call it what it is, and you choose action instead. Most people don't even realize how many excuses they've built into their thinking. It's automatic. It's part of their routine. Wake up, make an excuse, delay growth, repeat. This is how mediocrity becomes normal. But when you start paying attention, you'll see it clearly. That moment you tell yourself you're too busy to work out, that's the moment. That voice that says you're not ready to start, that's the one. That story you tell yourself that your situation is harder than everyone else's, that's the pattern. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you take your power back. You don't overcome excuses by just pushing harder. You overcome them by building honesty. That means asking real questions. Is this reason true, or is it just convenient? Am I protecting my progress, or avoiding the effort? If I keep thinking this way, where will I end up in a year? Questions like these break the illusion of excuses. They force you to face reality. And that's when change begins. Replacing excuses means having a go-to action ready. You don't just remove an excuse and sit there. You replace it with movement, with a step, with effort. You build a system where you don't need to feel good to follow through. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to be in the mood. You act because you said you would. That kind of consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from refusing to be controlled by false limits. Every excuse that's lived in your mind has probably cost you something. Maybe it cost you your confidence. Maybe it slowed your progress. Maybe it made you doubt yourself. The way you rebuild is by proving to yourself that you are no longer led by weakness. You are no longer owned by the part of you that chooses ease over effort. You start stacking proof. You show up when you used to avoid. You follow through when you used to pause. And over time, you build a new belief. I do what I say I'll do, no matter what. You also have to stop glorifying comfort. That mindset is one of the main reasons excuses thrive. You think every day should feel good, smooth, effortless, and when it doesn't, Your mind looks for a way out, but growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives on the other side of resistance. That doesn't mean you have to suffer. It means you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to train your mind to expect resistance and keep going anyway. There's always going to be a reason to wait, always a reason to play it safe, always a reason to stay quiet. But if you let those reasons win, you'll never see what you're actually capable of. You don't rise to your potential by making it easier. You rise by doing what's hard, repeatedly, until it becomes your new standard. That means doing the work even when your excuse feels justified. Especially then, because that's where most people quit, and that's exactly where you need to push. Excuses also thrive in silence. That's why it's important to speak the truth out loud, even just to yourself. When you catch yourself slipping, don't stay quiet. Say it. That's an excuse. Name it. Break its power. When you say it out loud, it loses its hold. You realize you've been giving weight to something that doesn't deserve it. You don't have to be angry or ashamed, just honest. That honesty creates space for a better decision. Some excuses come from fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change. You won't beat that fear by hiding from it. You beat it by acting in spite of it. Every time you do, your fear shrinks and your courage grows. That's how you become someone who doesn't flinch under pressure, someone who keeps showing up, even when the outcome is uncertain. And some excuses come from self-doubt. You think you're not good enough. You think you've failed too many times. But that's not a reason to stop. It's a reason to keep going. You don't build belief by waiting to feel confident. You build it by acting through doubt. Every step you take while unsure teaches you that you're stronger than you thought. You don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need a clear path. You don't need approval. You just need to stop letting that voice of hesitation decide what happens next. You've let it lead long enough. Now it's time to take back control. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel better. Right now. Write your excuses down if you have to. Look at them on paper. Separate what's real from what's emotional. See how flimsy they really are. Then write the truth beside them. Write what you're going to do instead. Turn it into a challenge. Turn it into fuel. Turn it into action. Because once you stop protecting your excuses, you start protecting your goals. This doesn't mean you won't slip. You will. But now, instead of falling into excuses for days or weeks, you'll catch yourself faster. You'll recover sooner. You'll bounce back stronger. That's what mental toughness looks like. Not perfection, but awareness and action. Every time you choose effort over excuse, you change your story. You stop being the person who almost did something and start becoming the person who followed through. That identity is not built overnight. It's built moment by moment, in those split-second decisions when it's easier to quit, but you keep going. So confront the excuses as they come. Don't wait until they've built a home in your mind. Don't let them steal another hour of your time. Don't let them delay another day of progress. Replace them. Move. Decide. Follow through. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because that's how you grow. That's how you lead your life forward. That's how you become someone you can count on, no matter what. Chapter 9. Anchor identity in effort, not outcomes. Most people tie their sense of worth to results. They feel good when they win and feel broken when they don't. They feel confident when things go right and question themselves when things fall apart. That way of living creates emotional highs and lows that never end. It makes life unstable because outcomes are never fully in your control. Effort is. And if you want a strong mind and a steady life, you must anchor your identity in effort, not outcomes. Outcomes change. Effort builds, results fluctuate. Effort compounds. When you tie who you are to outcomes, you live at the mercy of circumstances. A bad day can shake you. A failure can make you doubt everything. One loss can erase months of progress in your mind. But when you anchor your identity in effort, nothing can take it away. You can lose and still stand tall. You can fail and still respect yourself. You can fall short and still move forward with confidence. Effort is the only honest measure of character, not talent, not luck, not applause. Effort shows up when things are hard. Effort shows up when no one is watching. Effort shows up when the outcome is uncertain. Anyone can feel good when things work out. Very few can stay grounded when they don't. That grounding comes from knowing you did the work. You showed up. You gave your best. You didn't quit on yourself. When you focus too much on outcomes, you become fearful. Fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of not measuring up. That fear leads to hesitation. Hesitation leads to avoidance. Avoidance leads to regret. But when effort becomes the goal, fear loses its grip. You stop asking, what if this doesn't work? And start asking, did I give my full effort today? That question is freeing, because you can answer it honestly every day. Effort gives you control in a world full of uncertainty. You can't control how others respond. You can't control timing. You can't control external events. But you can control whether you prepare, whether you practice, whether you stay disciplined, whether you keep trying after disappointment. That control builds inner strength, and inner strength creates peace. People who chase outcomes often burn out. They put pressure on every moment. Every task becomes heavy. Every mistake feels catastrophic. That's not sustainable. But people who commit to effort build resilience. They learn to separate performance from identity. They learn that a bad result does not make them a bad person. It just means there's more to learn. Anchoring identity in effort also builds long-term confidence. Confidence doesn't come from winning once. It comes from knowing you can show up again and again. It comes from proving to yourself that you don't disappear when things get uncomfortable. That confidence is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't collapse under criticism. It's rooted in self-trust. Effort-based identity changes how you handle setbacks. Instead of spiraling, you reflect. Instead of quitting, you adjust. Instead of blaming, you improve. You stop wasting energy on self-judgment and start using it for growth. That shift alone can change the direction of your life. This mindset also protects you from arrogance. When outcomes go well, you don't become careless or entitled. You stay grounded. You respect the process. You know results came from consistent effort, not luck or superiority. That humility keeps you learning, and learning keeps you progressing. Effort-focused people don't wait for perfect conditions. They act within imperfect ones. They don't wait to feel confident. They build confidence by taking action. They don't wait for clarity. They move forward and gain clarity along the way. That momentum creates progress even when outcomes lag behind. There will be days when effort doesn't seem to pay off. Days when you work hard and nothing improves. Days when you do everything right and still lose. Those days test you. If your identity is tied to results, those days break you. But if your identity is tied to effort, those days strengthen you. Because you walk away knowing you honored your standard. Effort also builds patience. You stop expecting instant rewards. You understand that growth takes time. You stop chasing shortcuts. You commit to the long road. That patience keeps you from making desperate decisions. It keeps you steady when others panic. Effort-based identity also improves relationships. You stop needing constant approval. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop feeling threatened by someone else's success. You focus on your lane. You show up with integrity. You listen better. You give more. Because your worth isn't hanging on external praise. This mindset doesn't mean outcomes don't matter. They do. Results give feedback. They show what's working and what's not. But they don't define you, they inform you. You use them to improve effort, not to judge yourself. That distinction is crucial. Every day gives you a chance to choose what you value. You can chase recognition or build resilience. You can chase validation or build discipline. You can chase comfort or build character. Anchoring identity in effort is choosing character. It's choosing long-term strength over short-term emotion. You'll notice a change when you make this shift. Pressure feels lighter. Failure feels less personal. Progress feels more meaningful. You stop feeling like you're on trial every day. You start feeling like you're in training. Training allows mistakes. Training encourages repetition. Training builds skill. That mindset makes life more manageable. Effort also creates meaning. There's pride in honest work. There's dignity in persistence. There's fulfillment in knowing you didn't waste your potential. Even when outcomes fall short, effort gives you something solid to stand on. The world will always measure you by outcomes. Titles, money, status, wins, losses. That's unavoidable. But you don't have to measure yourself that way. You get to decide what defines you. And when you choose effort as your anchor, you become unshakable. You stop fearing failure because it no longer threatens your identity. You stop fearing judgment because you know your worth doesn't depend on opinion. You stop fearing hard work because it's who you are. That freedom is powerful. This is a daily choice. Some days you'll slip back into outcome, thinking, that's normal. When it happens, return to effort. Ask yourself what you can do today. Not what you can win. Not what you can prove, just what you can give. Over time, this way of living changes everything. You become consistent. You become resilient. You become calm under pressure. You stop riding emotional highs and lows. You build a stable inner core. Anchor your identity in effort. Let outcomes be information, not judgment. Let effort be your standard. When you live this way, you don't need constant success to feel strong. You carry strength with you, and that strength stays with you no matter how the world responds. Chapter 10. Rebuild confidence through promises kept daily. Confidence isn't built by talking about your goals, it's built by following through on them. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you reinforce belief in your ability to trust your own word. That belief, repeated day after day, is what becomes real confidence. Not the kind that's loud or showy, but the kind that runs deep, quiet, stable, strong. And that kind of confidence cannot be borrowed. It must be earned through action. Most people don't lose confidence overnight. They lose it one broken promise at a time. They say they'll start tomorrow, and they don't. They say they'll stick to something, and they quit halfway. They say this time will be different, but they fall back into the same habits. Over time, these broken promises add up. Not just in missed progress, but in how they see themselves. It becomes hard to believe in your potential when your history shows a pattern of not following through. That pattern doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've trained yourself to tolerate inconsistency. But the same way you trained inconsistency, you can train commitment, one kept promise at a time. It doesn't need to be a massive change. You start with one small decision, and you honor it, even if it's inconvenient, even if no one's watching, even if no reward comes right away. You keep it, and you stack that proof, and then you do it again tomorrow. Confidence is not about feeling ready. It's about proving to yourself that you're reliable, that you'll show up when it's hard, that you'll do what you said, even when you're tired or unsure. Every day you do that, your inner voice gets stronger. You start to replace doubt with belief. Not because someone told you you're great, but because you earned it. You showed up for yourself when it counted. The promises don't have to be dramatic. You don't need to promise yourself a perfect routine or a flawless outcome. You promise yourself simple, clear actions. I will wake up on time. I will write for 10 minutes. I will drink water instead of soda. I will finish what I start today. These are not just tasks. They are training. Training your brain to believe that your word means something again. You know when you're lying to yourself. You know when you're stretching the truth just to feel better in the moment. That internal dishonesty chips away at your self-respect, and without self-respect, confidence has no foundation. But when your actions and your words match, something shifts. You begin to walk with a different energy. You don't have to fake confidence anymore because it comes from within. You've earned it through consistency. The world will try to convince you that confidence comes from results, from validation, from attention. But that kind of confidence fades fast. It disappears the moment things go wrong, the moment you're rejected, the moment something fails, and then you're back at zero. But the confidence built through promises kept, that's different. That's yours. No one can take it. You also start to raise your standards. When you keep your promises, your self-image improves. And when your self-image improves,